Space had always been big, too big for anyone to really understand. Stars floated like dust in a dark room, and between them were planets, ships, and secrets that no one could ever fully find. Humans had only just started to look up. For thousands of years they had fought among themselves, built cities, torn them down, and tried to understand what was out there beyond the sky. Now, after wars, peace talks, and a lot of luck, they had finally left their solar system and joined something bigger, the Galactic Alliance. It was a group of alien species who had agreed to live together under one set of rules. Not all of them liked each other, but most followed the laws. The Alliance made sure trade was fair, travel was safe, and wars were avoided when possible. But humans, they were new here, and not everyone liked them. Some aliens thought humans were loud, messy, emotional, and too fast. Others saw potential in them, raw power wrapped in fragile skin, but most watched with quiet interest, waiting to see what these strange beings would do next. Lisa Martinez was one of the few humans trying to make friends. She worked as a linguist and translator on a small diplomatic station orbiting a neutral moon. Her job was to help humans understand alien languages and customs, and to teach aliens how to understand humans. It wasn't easy. You can't just say hey to a Zelari, she told a young cadet during training. They take it as an insult. They think you're challenging their status. What should I say instead? The cadet asked. You have to bow your head slightly, touch your chest, and say, may your path be long and bright. That's a lot just to say hello. Well, they don't say hello. They say something like, may your life flow smoothly through time. The cadet groaned. Lisa smiled. She knew this work was important. If humans wanted to survive in this galaxy, they needed to learn more than just weapons and tactics. They needed to learn how to talk. Not far away, Daniel Porter sat in the command chair of the USS Carson, a medium-sized human cruiser orbiting the same moon. He was not a famous officer. He wasn't rich or powerful. He had joined the Navy because he wanted to serve. Now he was stuck watching diplomats argue while his ship waited for orders. His captain was in meetings all day. So was the first officer, which meant Daniel, as second in command, was in charge of security and protocol. Sir, said Ensign Kara, his comm officer, we've got movement near Sector 4. 2 alien vessels just dropped out of warp. Which ones? Unknown. Design. Not in our database. Daniel leaned forward. Put it on screen. A grainy image appeared. The ships looked sleek, black, and fast. Not military, not civilian. Run a scan. Try to match hull type. Kara tapped at her console. No match. They're not registered with the Alliance. So they're either pirates or spies. Or both. Daniel stood up. Raise shields, alert the captain, we might have company. Meanwhile, in a different part of the station, Kyle Bennett was busy doing something illegal. He was a hacker, a good one. Not a criminal by choice, but by necessity. He had once worked for the government but got kicked out for asking too many questions. Now he worked alone, selling data to whoever paid the most. He had stumbled onto something big. While poking around inside a hidden server node, he found a file marked restricted. It was encrypted, but he had tools for that. After hours of work, he cracked it open. Inside were plans, battle strategies, target lists, names of human colonies, dates, locations, times. He stared at the screen. Someone was planning to attack Earth's outer settlements. But why? He read further. The documents referenced a secret council within the Alliance. A group of high-ranking aliens who believed humanity was a threat. Eliminate the root before the tree grows, one line read. Kyle felt cold. This wasn't just politics. This was war. He copied everything, then deleted the original files. He couldn't let this stay online. Someone else might erase it before anyone saw the truth. He had to warn someone. But who? On the surface of the moon below, preparations were underway for a major summit. Leaders from multiple species would gather to discuss trade, treaties, and the future of the Alliance. Humans were invited, for the first time. Many aliens saw it as a mistake. They're barely civilized, said one diplomat. They still fight among themselves. They haven't even unified their own planet. But they learn quickly, replied another. Too quickly. Then we must slow them down. The summit began peacefully enough. Speeches were given. Handshakes were exchanged. Food was served. Lisa Martinez was assigned to translate for the human delegation. She wore a small earpiece that helped her switch between dozens of languages. Do not raise your voice, she whispered to the ambassador. In Zalari culture, volume equals aggression. Got it, the ambassador said, keeping his tone low. Everything seemed fine, until a minor incident turned into a disaster. One of the human guards, nervous and unused to formal events, raised his hand to adjust his glasses. The motion was sudden, quick. To a nearby alien, it looked like a sign of challenge. Before anyone could stop it, the alien reacted. He slammed his fist on the table and shouted. The room fell silent. What did he say? The ambassador asked. Lisa translated slowly. He thinks you just declared war. Panic spread. Guards moved. Weapons were drawn. Someone shouted for security. Within minutes, the summit was over. The alien delegation walked out. Some called for sanctions. Others demanded action. Back aboard the Carson, Daniel watched the news unfold. Just great, he muttered. His captain returned, pale and angry. Get us ready, the captain said. We might be going to war. Over a handshake? Over. Pride, politics, and fear. And humans are right in the middle. Meanwhile, Kyle Bennett uploaded the stolen files to a secure relay. He didn't know who would get them, but he hoped someone would. He sat back and stared at the stars. You don't know what you've started, he whispered. Because somewhere out there, someone had already decided that humanity didn't belong. And now, they were going to prove it wrong. The stars were quiet again, but the peace was fake. After the summit collapsed, the alien leaders met in secret. They called it an emergency council. No humans were invited. No one told them what was being decided. But Lisa Martinez knew something was wrong. She had spent years studying alien politics. She knew how silence could be louder than shouting. She watched the news feeds, read between the lines, and saw the fear behind every word. This isn't just about the handshake, she said to her colleague Rachel, who worked in communications. Something bigger is coming. Rachel looked, worried. What do you mean? I've seen this before. When species feel threatened, they act fast. And humans, we're the new ones here. We don't know the rules yet. So what do? We warn someone. But by then, it was already too late. Without warning, the first strike came. It wasn't loud or dramatic. No big ships arrived. No fleets dropped out of warp. Just a few small attacks on Earth's outer colonies. A mining base vanished. A research station exploded. A trade convoy disappeared. At first, people thought it was pirates. Then another attack hit. And another. Finally, a distress signal came through from Colony Delta 9. This is Commander Ellis. We are under attack. Unknown enemy. Heavy casualties. Repeat. We are under. That was the last message. Earth governments tried to stay calm. Diplomats reached out to the Alliance. They asked for help, for answers. No one responded. Meanwhile, Daniel Porter sat aboard the USS Carson, reading reports that made his stomach twist. His captain paced the bridge, talking into his comm unit, with rising frustration. Where are the Alliance ships? The captain growled. Why haven't they responded? They say it's not their problem, Ensign Kara replied. They claim the colonies were outside protected space. Those colonies were human. Of course it's our problem. Daniel stood up. Sir, what are our orders? Wait, the captain said. For now. But waiting was hard. People back home were scared. Families lost loved ones. Whole towns disappeared overnight. On Earth, the world leaders met in emergency session. Some wanted to call for help. Others wanted to fight back. One general stood up and said, if the Alliance won't protect us, then we protect ourselves. And that's when everything changed. Unity under fire, for the first time in history, the nations of Earth agreed on something, not because they liked each other, because they had no choice. Governments signed a new pact, the Global Defense Treaty. It brought together armies, navies, air forces, and space units under one command. It wasn't perfect. There were arguments. Old enemies still hated each other. But they started working together. Factories began building ships. Engineers redesigned weapons. Scientists studied alien tech. Humans had always been good at adapting. Now, they had to get better. Lisa Martinez was called to a meeting in Geneva. She was given a mission: find proof that the attacks were planned. "We need to show the galaxy that this wasn't random," the director said. "We need facts." "I think I can do it," she said, "but I'll need access to Alliance servers." "You'll have it, if you can get inside." She nodded. Later that night, she met with an old friend, Kyle Bennett. He had gone underground. After leaking the stolen files, he wasn't sure if anyone even got them. When he saw Lisa, he frowned. "You're still here?" he asked. "I never left," she said. "And now I need your help." "Again?" "Yes." He sighed. "Okay, what do you need?" "Access to the Alliance archives. I need to prove this wasn't just a mistake. It was a plan." "All right, let's break some laws." The truth comes out. Breaking into the Alliance network was like trying to crack open a vault built by geniuses. But Kyle was good, very good. He found a way in through a forgotten diplomatic server. Once inside, he and Lisa searched for anything connected to the attacks. They found more than they expected: internal memos, secret meetings, encrypted logs. Someone had been planning this for months. Documents showed that several high-ranking alien officials had pushed for containment of humanity. They feared what humans might become. They believed that if humans kept growing, they would one day rule the galaxy, so they decided to stop them before that happened. "This is insane," Lisa whispered. "No," Kyle said. "This is politics. They just forgot who they were dealing with. They copied everything, sent it to trusted journalists, military leaders, and even some alien allies who might still listen." Within hours, the story broke. The galaxy was shocked. Some aliens denied it. Others stayed silent. A few condemned the actions, but the damage was done. Humans now knew the truth. They hadn't been attacked by accident. They had been targeted. First blood back aboard the USS Carson, Daniel received new orders. "Defend Colony Gamma 7. The message read, "Immediate deployment." Gamma 7 was under siege. Aliens had arrived in force. They weren't hiding this time. They sent warships, drop pods, ground troops. The colony had only a few hundred defenders, mostly volunteers. Ex-military, civilians with guns. They wouldn't last long. Daniel's captain gave the order to move out. The Carson jumped into warp. When they arrived, the sky was burning. Flames lit up the clouds. Explosions shook the ground. The enemy had already landed. Daniel took command of the defense team. He led a small squad to reinforce the main outpost. As they moved through the smoke, he saw the enemy for the first time. They were tall, armored, moved with cold precision. Their weapons cut through walls like paper. Daniel's team set up near the command center. "We hold this line," he told them. "If they take this place, the whole colony falls." They fought hard. Daniel used tactics he had never learned in school. He used cover, distractions, traps. He ordered drones to fly ahead, and Scout used debris to block enemy movement, called in air support when possible. Slowly, they pushed back. After hours of fighting, the tide turned. Enemy forces began to retreat. They hadn't expected resistance. They hadn't expected humans to fight like this. As dawn broke, the battle ended. The colony was safe for now. Daniel looked around, so many dead, so many wounded. He felt sick, but he also felt something else: pride. Humans had stood their ground, and for the first time, the galaxy saw it. The spark becomes flame. News of the battle spread fast. Videos of the fight, interviews with survivors, statements from Daniel and his crew. Humans across the galaxy watched, and something changed. Before, they had been afraid, confused, unsure. Now they were angry and ready. Military bases filled with volunteers. Factories ran nonstop. Ships launched faster than ever. Humans stopped waiting for permission. They started acting. In the weeks that followed, more battles took place. Some humans lost. Some won. But every time they fought, they learned. They adapted. They became stronger, and somewhere far away in a hidden room filled with alien leaders, one of them spoke. "We made a mistake," he said. "How so?" another asked. "We thought they were weak. Easy to control. Easy to eliminate. And now? Now they're awake, then we must prepare, and for what? For war." The war had started. Not with speeches or declarations, but with fire, fear, and the sound of ships dropping out of warp. Humans were no longer just trying to survive. They were fighting back, and they were winning, but not in the ways anyone expected. Aliens fought with strict rules, old tactics, and deep traditions. They followed orders without question. Their armies moved like machines. Humans? They were different. They broke rules, changed plans mid-fight, made mistakes, and learned from them fast. Where aliens saw chaos, humans saw opportunity. One alien general, watching a battle from orbit, muttered, "They don't follow the rules." A nearby officer asked, "What rules?" The general had no answer. Daniel's command, Daniel Porter, was no longer just a second-in-command. He had earned his place after the fight for Gamma 7. His captain had been killed during the retreat from Delta 9. The crew voted for a new leader. They chose him. It wasn't easy. Every day he faced hard choices. Who to send into battle? Who to save? What to sacrifice? His ship, the USS Carson, was now one of many human vessels patrolling the outer colonies. They weren't alone anymore. Other human ships joined them. Some were military. Others were civilian crews, turned soldiers overnight. They called themselves the Free Fleet. No single commander. No one telling them what to do. Just people fighting for survival. Daniel led his own wing, 3 ships and a small team of fighters. He used hit-and-run attacks, ambushes, traps. Once, he lured an enemy fleet into a dead star system. The gravity pulled their ships off course. Half of them crashed before they could escape. Another time, he sent drones disguised as supply ships into enemy lines. When they got close enough, they exploded. He didn't win every battle, but he always made the enemy pay. Lisa's mission. While Daniel fought in space, Lisa Martinez worked on the ground. She had left Geneva after the truth came out. She was now stationed on Earth, helping coordinate intelligence efforts. Her job was to understand the enemy, not just how they fought, but why. She studied reports, watched captured footage, talked to prisoners. Most aliens still thought humans were weak, emotional, unpredictable. "That's why we keep winning," she told a group of analysts. "They don't know how to fight us because we don't fight like them." "So what do?" one analyst asked. "We use our minds, our speed, our ability to change." She helped design a new training program for diplomats, spies, and officers. It taught them how to read alien body language, decode hidden messages, and turn enemies into allies. Some aliens began to listen. A few even offered help. One species, the Virex, had long been neutral. They traded with everyone, fought for no one. But after seeing how humans adapted, they reconsidered. "You are not like the others," said a Virex ambassador. "You do not wait for peace, you make it." Lisa smiled. "Sometimes we have to." Kyle's War. Kyle Bennett was never meant to be a soldier. He was a hacker, a loner, someone who liked working alone. But war changed everything. He had gone underground after leaking the Alliance files. Now, he worked for the Human Defense Network. His job: break into enemy systems, steal secrets, and mess with alien tech. He was good at it. Really good. He found ways to jam alien comms during battles. He rewrote targeting systems so enemy weapons fired at each other. Once he hacked into a command center and played loud human music over their speakers until they surrendered. They couldn't take the noise, he joked later. His most dangerous mission came when he infiltrated an alien data vault on a moon near the front lines. Inside, he found something unexpected, plans for a new weapon, something big. He copied everything and sent it back to Earth. Then he disappeared. No one knew if he survived. But his message reached the right people, and it changed everything. Amirs Invention. Amir Shah had spent his life studying biology. He was a marine biologist. He used to study fish. Now he studied death. When the war started, he was drafted into the Human Science Corps. His task? Find ways to stop the enemy. He looked at alien physiology, studied their weaknesses, and he found something. Most of the attacking species were vulnerable to certain types of bacteria, not deadly to humans, but lethal to them. He created a bioweapon, a virus that would spread through enemy ships, disabling their crews without killing them. This isn't about wiping them out, he told his team, it's about making them stop. The weapon was tested in secret. It worked. After a major battle, one alien fleet suddenly stopped fighting. Their ships drifted. Their crews fell ill. Human forces took control without firing another shot. It wasn't perfect. Some humans worried about ethics. Others questioned whether it was right. But in war, right and wrong get blurry. And Amir knew one thing. His work saved lives, human lives. Jessica's flight. Jessica Lowe had never flown in combat before the war. She was a civilian pilot. She flew cargo ships, transport shuttles, nothing fancy. But when the colonies fell under attack, she volunteered. They gave her a fighter jet. She taught herself how to fly it. Within weeks, she became known as the Ghost. She struck fast, disappeared. Before the enemy could react, her first mission was simple: escort a supply convoy to a besieged colony. Halfway there, they were ambushed. She dove into the fight. Her plane weaved between enemy ships. She fired with precision, took out engines, disabled weapons. By the time she landed, only 2 enemy ships remained. The convoy was safe. Word spread. Soon she was leading missions. Flying solo, hitting enemy bases. Commanders tried to give her orders. She listened, but often did what she thought was best. "I fly where I need to," she said once, "not where I'm told." She became a symbol, not just of strength, but of freedom. Humans didn't just follow orders. They made their own path. Ryan's Reportrayan Holt was a journalist before the war. He wrote stories about politics, culture, sometimes sports. Now, he wrote about war. He embedded with human forces, traveled to the front lines, interviewed soldiers, pilots, scientists. His reports changed how people saw the war. He showed the world the cost. He also showed the courage. He wrote about Daniel's leadership, Jessica's bravery, Amirs' inventions. He gave names to heroes. He exposed corruption. He revealed truths the Alliance wanted hidden. Some called him dangerous. Others called him brave. He kept writing, because someone had to tell the story, and he wanted the galaxy to remember. Humans were not just fighting to survive. They were fighting to prove they belonged. The tide turns as the war continued. The balance shifted. Humans were no longer just defending. They were taking the fight to the enemy. New weapons, new strategies, new leaders. Aliens who once dismissed humans now feared them. Some factions within the Alliance began to talk. Maybe we should have listened. Maybe we should have negotiated. But it was too late for that. The humans had awakened, and they were not going back to sleep. The war had changed. What once felt like a fight for survival now felt like something heavier, something darker. Humans were winning more battles. They were learning how to move fast, strike hard, and adapt faster than any alien species had expected. But every win came with a price. People died, planets burned, families lost everything, and not everyone was sure if it was worth it. Daniel's doubts. Daniel Porter stood on the bridge of the USS Carson, watching the stars through the front window. Behind him, reports came in from the latest battle. Human fleet had taken out an enemy supply line near the outer rim. It was a good victory, but he didn't feel good. He had lost 2 ships, 37 crew members, friends. He sat down in his chair and rubbed his face. "You okay?" asked Ensign Kara, his comm officer. "Yeah," he said, though it wasn't true. She gave him a look that said she didn't believe him. He looked back at the screen. The stars were still there. Cold. Quiet. "We keep winning," he said after a while. "But we're losing people every time." "That's war," she replied softly. "I just wonder, when does it end?" She didn't have an answer. No one did. Lisa's betrayal. Back on Earth, Lisa Martinez was trying to hold things together. After the truth about the Alliance's secret plan had come out, she had become a key figure in the human diplomatic effort. Her job was to find allies among the neutral alien species, to show them that humans weren't the threat everyone thought, but not everyone wanted peace. Some humans believed the only way to survive was to fight until the enemy could never hurt them again. Others saw the war as a chance to gain power. Lisa found out the hard way. During a meeting with a group of Virex diplomats, she was approached by a human official. His name was Director Elliot. He was high up in the Human Defense Network. "You've done good work," he told her. "Thank you," she said. "But some of your ideas are dangerous." "Dangerous?" "I'm trying to stop this war before it gets worse." "The war isn't getting worse," he said. "We're winning." "At what cost?" Elliot leaned in. "Don't let your ideals get in the way of progress." Then he left. Later that night, Lisa discovered that someone had erased parts of the files she had shared with the Virex. Someone inside the human government was working against her, and she knew who. Elliot. She tried to warn others. No one listened. Soon after, she was removed from her post. Her work was over, for now. Amir's mistake. Amir Shah had always believed science could help save lives. His bioweapon had given humans an edge in battle. It disabled enemy crews without killing them. But not. Everything went as planned. On one mission, the virus spread too far. An enemy ship crashed into a nearby moon. The virus escaped into the environment. Within weeks, native life forms began dying. Then the first human casualties came. A small team sent to scout the area fell ill. 2 died. Amir was called in. "This wasn't supposed to happen," he told his team. "It doesn't matter what was supposed to happen," said one of the doctors. "It happened." He stared at the reports, names, faces, people who trusted him. He had made a mistake, and people paid for it. He stopped working on new weapons. He went back to studying biology, not for war, but for healing. Jessica's crash. Jessica Lowe had flown through fire. She had dodged missiles, shot down enemy fighters, and led missions no one else would try. But even ghosts can fall. During a deep space raid, her fighter was hit. One moment, she was flying. The next, she was falling. Her ship tumbled through the sky, smoke pouring from its wings. She barely managed to eject before it exploded. She landed on an alien world. It was empty, dark, filled with ruins. As she walked through the wreckage, she found something strange, a hidden base. Inside, she found data logs, files from the early days of the war, plans, orders, proof that the attacks on humans were not random. They were meant to erase them, to make sure they never became a threat. She copied everything, sent it back to Earth. Then she waited, for rescue, for death, for anything. Days passed. She ran out of food. Her suit broke, but she kept going, because she knew what she had found was important, and because she wasn't ready to die. Ryan's warning. Ryan Holt read the message from Jessica. It was short. Found proof. Sending now. He opened the file. His stomach turned. The document showed that the war wasn't just about stopping humans. It was about erasing them. Before they could evolve. Before they could learn. Before they could grow beyond their limits. He wrote a report. Posted it online, shared it everywhere. People read it. Some cried. Some got angry. Others denied it. But the truth was out, and it changed everything. The war grows with the new information. The war took a darker turn. Human leaders debated whether to continue fighting or seek peace. Some wanted revenge, others wanted talks. But the enemy had already decided. They would not stop until humans were gone. So humans fought harder. More ships launched. More soldiers joined. Cities were rebuilt. Factories worked nonstop, and still the war dragged on. The breaking point, then came the worst attack yet. A human colony, Delta 12, was destroyed. Not bombed, not attacked, just gone. No survivors, no wreckage, nothing. A massive alien weapon had been used, something new, something terrifying. Word spread quickly. Panic followed. Earth governments met in emergency session. Should they surrender? Should they escalate? Should they strike back? There was no easy answer. Only one thing was clear. The war was no longer just about survival. It was about existence. And the galaxy was about to find out what humans could really do. The stars were quiet again, not because the war was over, because it had reached its breaking point. Humans had fought long and hard. They had lost homes, families, friends. They had won battles, built alliances, and surprised even themselves. But now they stood at the edge. One more step could mean total destruction, or something else entirely. Something no one saw coming. The last strike, Daniel Porter sat in the command chair of the USS Carson, looking at the map on his screen. It showed enemy positions, dozens of them, deep inside alien space. His mission was simple, impossible. We hit them where it hurts, he said to his crew, and we end this. He wasn't alone. A fleet of human ships gathered near the outer rim. Some were military, some were civilian. Others were stolen from the enemy and refitted for war. They called themselves the Last Wave. No one expected them to come back, but they went anyway. Jessica Lowe joined the mission. She had survived the crash. Barely. Her body was still healing. Her mind was sharper than ever. She flew one of the lead fighters. "I've seen what they want to do to us," she told Daniel before launch. "I'm not letting that happen." "Then let's make sure they remember us," he replied. Amir Shah stayed behind. He had stopped building weapons, but he hadn't stopped helping. He worked with scientists and engineers to create something new, a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Part biology, part machine, part myth. "This isn't about killing," he told his team. "It's about showing them who we really are." Lisa Martinez was there too. She had been removed from her diplomatic post, but she found another way to fight. Through words. She spoke. To the galaxy. To anyone who would listen. "You tried to erase us," she said in a broadcast sent across known space. "But you failed. We are here. And we are not going away." The battle begins. The attack started with silence. No warning shots. No declarations. Just movement. Human ships dropped out of warp in waves. They came fast. They came hard. Enemy defenses scrambled. Ships launched. Lasers fired. Missiles exploded. In the chaos, Jessica dove into the heart of the enemy fleet. Her fighter wove between enemy ships like a ghost. She targeted key systems, engines, shields, comms. Every shot counted. Behind her, other pilots followed. They weren't just soldiers. They were survivors, fighters, dreamers, and they were tired of running. Daniel led the main assault. His ship took heavy fire. Armor cracked. Engines burned. But he kept moving. "This ends today," he said to his crew. "We don't go back until it's done." The weapon is unleashed back on Earth. Amir watched as the signal came through. "Ready for deployment," his team reported. He took a deep breath, then gave the order. The weapon launched. It looked like a normal missile, but inside it carried something different. Not explosives, not poison, something alive. It spread through enemy ships like wind, not by force, by change. Aliens who touched it felt something shift. Their minds opened. They saw things differently. Not as enemies, not as conquerors, as beings in the same universe. This is not war, one commander whispered before falling unconscious. This is understanding. Others screamed. Some resisted, but most changed. The battle slowed, then stopped. The ceasefire on the bridge of the Carson, Daniel got a message. Enemy forces are standing down. He stared at the screen. Say that again. They're surrendering. He didn't believe it, until he saw it with his own eyes. Enemy ships pulling back, weapons powered down, commanders calling for peace. He turned to Kara, his comm officer. Tell the fleet to hold position. No more attacks. Yes, sir. Silence filled the room, not the silence of fear, of victory, of something deeper. Understanding. The truth spreads. Lisa's voice echoed across the galaxy. Her message played on every channel. This war was never about power. It was about fear. Fear of what we might become. Fear of what we already are. Humans had been seen as weak, chaotic, dangerous. But now, they had proven something else. They had shown resilience, creativity, hope. Some aliens still hated them. Some refused to accept defeat. But many began to talk, to listen, to learn. A few even asked for help. How did you win? One diplomat asked. Daniel answered simply, we didn't follow your rules. Then whose rules did you follow? Our own. The cost of peace didn't come easy. Many died. Planets were destroyed. Families torn apart. Nothing could bring back what was lost. But life continued. Cities were rebuilt. New leaders rose. Children grew up under stars that once seemed so far away. Jessica Lowe returned home. Her body was broken, but her spirit was strong. She became a pilot trainer, teaching new recruits how to fly. Don't just follow orders, she told them. Fly where you need to. Lisa Martinez returned to diplomacy. This time, not as a translator, as a teacher. She taught humans how to understand aliens, and aliens how to understand humans. Amir Shah went back to science. Not for war, but for healing. He helped rebuild worlds, restore ecosystems, find cures. He believed in life and in second chances. Daniel stayed in the Navy, but not for war, for protection, for peace. We don't fight because we like it, he told his crew. We fight because we have to, and we stop when we can. The future begins. Years passed. The galaxy changed. Humans were no longer the new ones. They were part of something bigger, not just members of the Alliance, leaders, innovators, explorers. Some aliens still feared them, others respected them. Most just accepted them. And that was enough. On a rebuilt colony, a child looked up at the sky. Stars stretched above like a sea of light. What do you want to be when you grow up? Someone asked. The child smiled. A starwalker, she said. Not a soldier, not a diplomat, not a scientist, just someone who looked up and dreamed and knew that the stars were waiting. The end, or the beginning. The war was over, but the journey had only just begun. Humans had started as the unknown. Now they were the unexpected. The galaxy had tried to stop them, tried to erase them, tried to control them, but they had done what no one else had done before. They had made their own path, and they were just getting started.